Boing, boing, boing. Boing, boing, boing. Boing, boing, boing. Well, it's such a shame this performance hasn't been remastered in 4K, because if anything deserves that kind of treatment, it's Miss Sabrina Salerno's beautiful 36 double Ds. 1988, top of the pops on the BBC, and believe it or not, a few prudish viewers complained about this outrageous sight of a woman being biological and showing her busty cleavage in all of its infinite glory. But I've got to say one thing, I'd love to have been a cameraman on that day, because I'm sure those who were certainly went home and did more than just have an evening kip at the fireplace.
Oh, is that an ancient Tibetan ritual dagger in your pocket?
Oh, maybe I'm just happy to see you.
Yeah, hello. Are we done with your bad stand-up routine?
Almost. But you always gotta end on your best joke.
Wow! You're watching Jason King for Kung Fu Hot Dog. It's crazy.
Kung Fu Hot Dog, great name, great name. Oh, is Kung Fu Hot Dog an actual channel?
Kung Fu Hot Dog, one of my favorite. This is my guilty pleasure YouTube channel that I watch, just so everyone knows. I never miss a video. This dude's gonna be a freaking star. He's hilarious. If you need a laugh, that's the channel to watch.
Kung Fu Hot Dog. Gary saw Excalibur. It's great. As a POC myself, I was disappointed not to see myself in the Northman, which I loved. Bless your heart. I love people who have sense of humor.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be one of the longest videos I have ever made. What are you talking about, Jace? Well, a couple of days ago, because yesterday I took that thing called a day off from YouTube. Do I regret it? No, because today I've got a fun-packed video for you, which is just going to blow your mind. In fact, yesterday I was playing Splinter Cell Blacklist. I'm on the second mission now after upgrading the Paladin, where you have to snipe all these soldiers from above, except I'm playing it in realistic mode, and boy, if you've never played that game before, realistic mode is the best way to go, because it really does teach you how to do things that the game would otherwise hold your hand to. But speaking of which, Project Haven, that's what I spoke about a couple of days ago. A very awesome user, and I pinned their comment in that last video, pointed out like, Jace, you got the wrong Haven game. And from what I've actually can tell, there's actually more than one. This is Project Haven, and the actual Haven game that Park Place reported on is actually called Haven. So I was thinking, but then there was another Haven game I reacted to from 2020. So like, how many Havens are there? I do remember Haven, the TV series, with a lovely Miss Elena Rose. I think that was her name, Emily Rose. And she even had her former acting buddy in crime, Nolan North, who played Nathan Drake from Uncharted, appearing in one episode, which is really, really funny, actually. But of course now, I didn't know Unleashed Games have their own channel on YouTube. And here it is, playtesting March the 15th, and this is the Haven game. So let's just dive into this, folks, and let's just see what this AAA game looks like.
So I love this build concept, because in Final Fantasy, that is one of the biggest gripes, is the limited inventory of builds and wanting.
Hang on a second. So this guy is comparing this playtest to AAA Final Fantasy. Oh, okay, right. I think I might have lost my mind there for a second.
Of course, in World of Warcraft world.
And by the way, that's Miss Irene Pereira on the top. I believe she's Brazilian or Portuguese.
He wants their own setup here. So this is this is a great concept.
This is dog
Bringing
shit.
it back to that community, right? Like,
Oh, it's about the community. Oh, my favorite C word. Well, actually, I do have another favorite C word, but I can't utter it here unless I bleep myself out. You
talked about in our audio event.
Oh, absolutely. Because in the Haven, you can pretty much do everything together. And one of the big pieces that we've wanted with this game is that it's always a net positive when somebody, like, you encounter anybody in the game.
Oh, I'm supposed to have gotcha.
I take it Irene has never played Call of Duty back in the good old days. The mid-noughts, net positivity, when somebody would just call your name or tag out and make mum jokes on your behalf because your mum wasn't in the playroom with you.
Are you racist? You're racist.
How is he racist? Dollar sign head ass nigga.
You say that. You say too much.
You way at the bottom, fool. You way at the bottom. You're at the bottom, fool. You're not shit.
But look at that. All the comments are turned off. I can't imagine why. Can you, Miss Pereira? Of course now, other news today, and this is 2 bits from Phil Spencer, a man who I used to revere once, but recently in the last few days and weeks, he's really gone down in my opinion. So from VGC, Xbox boss, Phil Spencer says, multi-platform brand pivot partly driven by Gen Z habits. Younger players want to be able to access content wherever they want. So you can kind of see this shift in gaming habits. Are there such things as gaming habits? So apparently the Gen Zers, who even Jodie Foster called out at one point, because instead of showing up to work on time, they will show up 2 or 3 hours later and go, oh my God, see, I couldn't get up this morning. I had issues with what pronoun I was going to use today before I left the house. Of course, because, you know, in the real world where a bridge in Baltimore collapses and people lose their lives, all you're worried about is what effing pronoun you might need to use for today. Okay, so we have this, which is like, well, I think Phil Spencer is slightly out of touch because people game wherever and whenever they can. Eurogamer had this article published very recently. Xbox boss, again, it's no weird. Xbox boss was right here, and now they're going, oh, it's what? And now this is Eurogamer. Are they copying what VGC have just said?
Officer Deja, Agent Vu. Haven't we met somewhere before?
Phil Spencer concerned over layoffs due to lack of industry growth. Gee, Phil, what could that be, I wonder? Industry projected to be smaller again next year in terms of players and dollars. The Xbox boss presided over the departure of 1,900 people across Xbox and Activision Blizzard in January of this year, a decision he described at the time as being one aimed at achieving a substantial cost structure that will support the whole of our growing business. Despite the fact there is a lack of industry growth. Huh? Across the video games industry as a whole, more than 15,000 people are thought to have been let go over the past 18 months. Of course, when you read into this article a little bit more, when he says there's a lack of growth, the way I'm reading this is that they want a bit more diversity and inclusion, because apparently, and the reason why I say that, by the way, I'll get to that point in a minute. I'm not making this stuff out of the blue, because I do have something to back up my statement there. But Blackrock, you know, Mr. Larry Fink, the man who managed to lose $700 trillion billion last year in one sitting, which was incredible. But they do have a pretty substantial stake in the Microsoft Corporation. 540 million, 20,228 shares to be precise, which is an ownership of 7.30%. So you can imagine that leverage that they've already got, Blackrock, and the forced behaviors that Larry Fink likes to sit down and, you know, do that very dodgy kind of, you know, that pose where I'm like, I'm very effeminate right now, but I'm telling you people out there, SG, you've got to go out there. We're going to force these behaviors on you to force on others.
You have to force behaviors, and at Blackrock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year.
So basically what Mr. Fink is saying is, I myself, as a person of colour, I don't have one leg and half an amputated willy, or dick to you Americans, but I can literally walk into a Microsoft and say, Phil, can you give me a job based on my colour, please? Sure thing, Jason. Do you like pineapples on your pizza? It's interview by complexion, not by actual merit or talent, or even a knowledge of the company that you've applied to be a part of as a future legacy. And that's the thing that I heard about the layoffs at Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. They let go of staff with years of experience. Don't you think you should probably recruit some young people in, not the Gen Z crowd, although inevitably it's going to be them, and train them up to be the next generation? I guess not, right? So where was the thinking there? So from what I know, there has been no official handover to other people. You've got rid of 1,900 people and more, including what I've just mentioned. But of course now, this woman, Kelly Lombardi. Who is she? Well, I'll get to that point in a minute as well. Raise your hand if you're not a white man and you buy video games. No hate to white dudes or white girls. Why are we excluding the lovely white ladies, Kelly Lombardi? Obviously of Italian descent, maybe. It's just another day in the gaming industry that minorities have to fight to prove they exist. Kelly Lombardi, are you high on drugs? Are you sniffing cocaine out of Phil Spencer's dirty buttocks? Because this is the most insane tweet I have ever seen. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when, like me, you spend half your day staring at AI and real ladies' biological boobs, and then you forget what's going on in the real world. But I don't apologize because I love staring at boobies, bums, legs, and thighs. Not in that order. So Thor Odinson says, hey Kelly Lombardi, I'm not a white man and I buy video games. And never, not once, have I ever needed you to speak on my behalf. Minorities are not your shields, so kindly piss off. Beautifully said. Of course now, after all the booing and hissing from people outraged by Kelly Lombardi's, oh, you know what, I should have probably sat down and thought for a minute before I published this. Yep, she's gone into lockdown mode. What is Kelly Lombardi's job title? Global Games Marketing at Xbox. Sometime streamer, host, GT, Kellosaurus Rex. What a great play on words, you prehistoric woman, you Kelly Lombardi. And shall we just take a look at her face quite quickly? Oh, good grief. She sounds and looks like some insufferable women I've actually met in the past few days. Speaking of which, Miss Alyssa Mercante, that bet is still on. If Kotaku pays me £100,000, I will French kiss you on a live stream while you have halitosis. But of course, if Kotaku want to negotiate that fee and bring it down to $50,000, I'm still game if you are Miss Mercante, because quite seriously, love, all that gabbing you're doing, I think you've never been kissed by a man, and I think I want to change that. Yes, I will need 3 sticks of Wrigley's chewing gum to get rid of the bad odor from my mouth, but for 100 grand or less, it will be absolutely worth it.
So let's have fun.
Of course now, we get all the white knights jumping to the defense of Black Girl Gamers and Sweet Baby Inc., who is the latest insufferable woman to stand on her platform and to tell us that we need to be purged. Yes, it's none other than Julia Hardy. Who? Exactly. Now, she's a so-called personality at the BBC, children's BBC to be precise, and her latest, well, actually, this was a tweet from last year. So, have been doing some thinking these past few months and taking some time to reflect on things. And I have some personal news I'm happy to share with you all. I am non-binary. Wave. Jules, honey bunch, sweetie pie, you can't be non-binary. There's only two genders in the world, which will bring me back to another story from Xbox later on concerning that very statement. But this is what she said, which I found very, oh my God, this is just like the worst thing I've ever seen. So from thatparkplace.com, see BBC host Jules. Now, by the way, before I actually get on with this article, children's BBC, back in the day, well, even way back, Janet Ellis, Sarah Green, when she used to wear very short skirts on Blue Peter, and I used to get a right eyeful, and Connie Huck. Now, when I first heard that Connie Huck was going to be a presenter on the BBC's Blue Peter, I called her Connie Yuck, until I saw this glorious photograph popping up at some point. Fantastic moments, and then all was forgiven, boys and girls. Hardy, who hosts the CBBC show Game On Grandparents and BBC's Top Gear gaming show, reacted to Black Girl Gamer's post writing, "Can we agree that for round 2 of this, it can be the final purge of these kind of gamers?" She added, "It's 2024. I've been arguing about this for decades." No, she hasn't. Can we have a full last detox of these should I be dudes? So we can get back to the positive gaming community we have been creating. Jules, what community of gaming have you created, love? Where have you been all this time? Jules Hardy's the kind of woman that if I encountered her in the 90s, and by the way, I'm going to get back to that point again in a minute as well, because I drew up so many videos about her, I didn't know where to start or to run to. But this is like, we don't need someone like Jules Hardy, a person who lacks about as much engagement as the latest shenanigans from Harry and Meghan. But here's a TED Talk that Jules made 7 years ago. I mean, the likes to dislikes is a bit more, which is a shame, but whatever. But I just wanted to play this bit here, which I just thought was, well, here we go. Let's hear what she has to say.
Because apparently having a woman talk about why they like a certain video game brings out a particularly angry section of men that we'd rather avoid. Now...
So let me get this straight, Jules. Naomi Kyle, Jessica Chobot, Alana Pierce on IGN back in the glory days when boobies and game talk were my favorite ingredient of the day. I listened to what they said because they were actual journos who wrote their actual scripts. But she's saying here, oh, if a girl talks about a video game she doesn't like, men are going to get outraged. Well, again, this brings me back to something that my friend mentioned a while back. Why do women like to F up everything men like? Why? Why? That's why you don't see female construction workers, because they're not as strong as men. To lift up one girder, you need about 20 women just to lift that one up, when with a dude it's actually 1 or 2 and that's it. Oh my God, are you kidding me? But oh my God, let's see what else she has to say. That face, that is the face. Oh, and of course she's got the above nose piercing, folks, right between the eyes, because apparently that is telling everybody you're non-binary. Honestly, I mean, you put this woman next to Shania Twain, who's 58, by the way, and an absolute MILF. I like that ridiculous Dani Lalondes, who calls herself a non-binary MILF in training.
Spirit swap. So I'm a non-binary MILF in training, and I've been in the industry.
I don't give a shit. I'd rather take my bets with Miss Twain any day of the week.
Before you think this is going to be some sort of weird, feminist kind of man-hating rant, it really isn't. This is a very small percentage of men. And so much to the point that I created a slide just to make sure that we are abundantly clear this isn't all men, okay?
No, but you're still targeting some men, Jules. So, you know what? I have to make a PowerPoint slide just to get my point across.
Because it's not. It's a very, very small percentage. But this small percentage of men does more damage to intergender relationships than a
Intergender relationships, is that between male and female or between people that I'm not sure what their pronouns are? Let me know, Jules, because I'm dying to know, actually. Intergender relationships.
Now, maybe you're a nice, well-rounded guy and you approach a girl in a bar and you say, "Hey, what's up?" I presume that's how you do it. And straight away, this woman will just shut you down and doesn't want to have anything to do with you.
A whole goblin-like spirit. Did you see? That's why I call them goblins.
I did.
These are literal goblin forces we're up against. And I feel sorry for them.
Jules, back in the 90s, love, it was easy for a guy to walk up to a girl in a bar, maybe Café du Paris in my case, and just use a much more less cheesy line, okay? Now, if I got shut down, I'll just walk on to the next girl and speak to her. And a lot of guys will attest to that. Well, I mean, come on, would you actually date this chick looking like this? Well, she's non-binary, so yeah, probably gay as well.
Well, you've just felt the full force and effect of these other guys' behavior and how it's going to be affecting your life.
I'm assuming guys have walked up to her in a bar or a similar kind of environment and she shut them down. So it's a self-insert. She's basically using her own experiences, the lack of, to make this point. It's absolute garbage, it really is. You know what, Jules? Just keep blabbing because, you know, if you smell your farts long enough, you'll start to believe that it's Chanel coming out of your orifice and not actual methane.
Now it is time for a break, so let's break.
Niche Gamer, I love this website. Microsoft cautions developers to avoid, wait for it, it's the biggest crime of the century, folks. Forget the local 911 alert down your neighborhood. Nope. Avoid curvy female characters. Oh my God. And of course, my lucky mascot right here, Eve from Stellar Blade. Without her, I may not have gotten to where I am on Hollywood in YouTube at the moment. Microsoft urges developers not to create female characters with exaggerated body proportions on their official site to support game devs. Because if you're a male or female dev and you create a female character with big bosoms and large buttocks and thick thighs, apparently this might give them PTSD. The site titled Product Inclusion Action Help Customers Feel Seen includes a bullet list of considerations they urge developers to make when working on their product. One Twitter user pointed out the language expressly condemning certain female characters as reinforcing negative gender stereotypes. But here's a funny thing. Shin Jae-un, a name I've gotten used to saying in the last few weeks, was the body type for Eve, except for her face, because she is the body type. Even the dev behind Stellar Blade said, well, Miss Shin Jae-un had a rather interesting body. And who am I to disagree with such a man? And by the way, big shout out to Arrowhead from Sweden, the people behind Helldivers 2. They still refuse to give in to LGBT nonsense. Keep staying based, Arrowhead. I love you guys.
But liberty's enemies march ever closer. Together.
You son of a bitch.
But of course now, when you see... Don't hate me, Microsoft. Yeah, that's a character from Borderlands. Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Microsoft against curvy women. Again, going back to Larry Fink, going back to the 540,020,228 shares, or 7.30% that is held by Blackrock. Larry Fink, ooh, your tentacle, sir. Has anybody got the goods in you? Are you committing nefarious acts behind people's backs and we don't know about them yet? But ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolute mouthful, which is what I also said last night to the lady with the 36 double Ds. Microsoft against curvy women, whatever next. And don't you think as well that in Phil Spencer's boudoir that he's probably got curvy women working for Microsoft? Don't you think they might be offended that you can't have them included. I mean, Mike, oh my God, wasn't it Fortnite as well? That they had this very curvy character. I think her name was Paige. And she was like this nice, attractive, curvy female. Then this suddenly started to deflatten her because apparently, I mean, look, you're down if you do or you're down if you don't, right? You're either going to have them curvy and you're going to offend the sensitive mob out there, or you have them stick thin with no tits like that new character in the Fable game. I mean, at this stage, you might as well get Zendaya to walk in and do a mocap of her because good grief, Zendaya, your new pinup, folks, because she's what I call pancake tits madam. I want women in acting to have boobs again like Sydney Sweeney. I mean, Sydney Sweeney, beforehand, we knew of her name, but she didn't really start to explode about the same time I exploded when she started wearing plunging dresses with even more plunging necklines. And for that, Sydney, I can't salute you any further than I've tried already. And on that one, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video today, leave a like below, smash that subscribe button, and maybe if you want to, also drop a super chat to me, and I'll be glad to receive that payment like a pair of 36 Double D love missiles coming my way. And if I were you, and if you were me, you might want to come back for the next video.
We've all seen them, haven't we? Swanning about the place with their disproportionately high cheekbones and comically massive weapons.
Wanker.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!"